I had the privilege several weeks ago of visiting the cardiopulmonary unit of the hospital at the University of North Carolina. And I met a gentleman who is experimenting on taking the lungs from cadavers and transplanting them into living people. Lung transplant, it's cutting edge, and we're going to be showing you about how it's done, and hope and pray that it works, because it'll be a breakthrough for millions of people who are suffering from pulmonary problems. But there's something even bigger, I guess, right now. Will the government get shut down? Will the president actually do it? And rather than give more of your taxpayer dollars to Planned Parenthood, the Congress could say, if you veto this legislation, you are shutting the government down. Because Republicans say they are appalled by what Planned Parenthood is doing with the body parts of aborted babies.
Now, the Center for Medical Progress has released a fifth undercover video, and both the House and the Senate are investigating Planned Parenthood. Caitlin Burke has the story.
Like the other videos from the Center for Medical Progress, in this fifth undercover video, a top Planned Parenthood official is discussing procurement and the cost of fetal tissue. However, this time, the official goes one step further, talking about procuring intact fetuses.
So if we alter our process and we are able to obtain intact fetal cadavers, then we can make it part of the budget that any dissections are this, and splitting the specimens into different shipments is this. I mean, it's all just a matter of line items.
Planned Parenthood continues to defend itself by saying there's nothing in any of the videos that violates medical or legal standards, accusing the group behind the video of launching a smear campaign and showing a lack of respect for women. But the release of the undercover videos prompted several congressional investigations into Planned Parenthood, and calls to defund the agency continue. A move to cut federal funding failed to get enough votes in the Senate on Monday, but the debate is expected to continue when Congress returns from its recess. Republicans seem split over how to move forward, with the idea of cutting funding for Planned Parenthood possibly leading to a government shutdown, since Democrats wouldn't agree to it. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he doesn't want to shut the government down, but many Republicans are already vowing to reject any measure that contains money for the abortion provider. Senator John McCain saying, quote, "I don't like a government shutdown, but this is a clear case of totally improper use of taxpayers' dollars. I have an obligation to the taxpayers of Arizona." Planned Parenthood receives well over $500 million a year in government funds. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Thanks, Caitlin. Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember back at that other impasse, the President of the United States said, if you put that money for Planned Parenthood and take it out of the budget, I will veto the legislation and shut the government down. He was willing to do that himself. What the Congress has got to do, they don't have to be bound by this 60-vote stuff. They can invoke cloture. The Democrats did it. They used what was called the nuclear option, and they just jammed through appointments to various circuit courts, and they just did it. And they just said, okay, we've got the majority, and we're going to take our majority. The other thing is just a procedural matter that can be changed anytime the majority wants to do it. So I think the time has come to pass a resolution that has all the budget features and also includes money for women's health. So these local clinics and women's health centers can be fully funded. And so it will no longer be defunding women's health. It will not be a battle about health. There's nothing about health of women that includes killing babies and selling their parts. That has nothing to do with the health of women. And it looks like to me the Democrats are on the losing end of this battle, and they're going to get hurt badly in the election. I cannot believe that the conscience of the American people is so seared and so hardened that the people won't be disturbed with what this monstrous organization is doing. But the number is $528 million taxpayer dollars going to fund this iniquitous organization that is nothing but a big abortion provider, and now it's a abattoir selling parts. Well, the battle over defunding Planned Parenthood will likely be one of the topics in tomorrow night's Republican presidential debate. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. Here's John.
Pat, that's right. Republican frontrunner Donald Trump has already indicated he would shut down the government rather than give more taxpayer money to Planned Parenthood. And Texas Senator Ted Cruz has said the same. Both of them will be part of tomorrow night's first national televised debate in Cleveland. The Fox News debate will only include the top 10 candidates based on an average of national polls, and a lineup has been set. Businessman Donald Trump, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, neurosurgeon Ben Carson, Texas Senator Ted Cruz, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and Ohio Governor John Kasich. Well, President Obama is trying to build support for the Iran nuclear deal in a major speech today, trying to explain why Americans and Congress should support it. The president and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are also battling for the backing of American Jews in the debate over the deal. The president met privately with Jewish leaders at the White House, telling them the deal is in the best national security interests of the U.S. and Israel. But Netanyahu warns it would lead to war. He told American Jews in a live webcast the agreement gives Iran billions of dollars in sanctions relief while paving a path for Tehran to build a nuclear bomb.
I oppose this deal because I want to prevent war. And this deal will bring war. It will spark a nuclear arms race in the region, and it would feed Iran's terrorism and aggression. That would make war, perhaps the most horrific war of all, far more likely.
Netanyahu adds once the deal expires in a decade, Iran, in his words, will be able to quickly build an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. Pat?
Well, you know, in that so-called deal, the United States or the international agencies are prohibited from entering into Iranian military installations. And it is there that the delivery mechanism for some of these bombs are being fabricated. So we're in the dark on this. And on top of that, the Iranians have boasted that Israel is a one-bomb country. One major nuclear bomb would take out the good part of Israel. That's what they said. One bomb will do it. And they have vowed to destroy the state of Israel. That is part of their ethos. And how we can deal with people like that, who are the principal sponsors of terror, now we're going to release for them billions of dollars of sequestered money that's going to be used by them to fund Hamas, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda, and other organizations that are promoting terror. This is considered a, quote, good deal by the president. You just wonder what's wrong with that man, but he's just taking the United States down into an abyss. And ladies and gentlemen, something's got to be done to stop it. And yet he's an ideologue. He's determined what he's going to do, and this is going to be his, quote, legacy. Now he's reaching out to Nicaragua with a dictatorship there. He's reached out to the Castros in Cuba, the dictatorship there. He's reached out to the dictatorship in Iran. And where are we with our friends? He's slapped them as hard as he can. But it may be, ladies and gentlemen, if I were, and I'm not in charge of Israel, and it's a terrible thing to unleash some kind of a war, but they may have to bomb those nuclear installations to slow this thing down. And, you know, it's a difficult situation. But I would have thought several years ago they would have taken that option. They haven't done it yet, but they're going to have to. John?
Pat, Christians in France took a new journey earlier this year to Israel. They're developing a growing connection with the Jewish state, and as Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, they're coming together to show their support for Israel.
This is well-known French worship leader Corinne Lafitte singing a famous Jewish prayer, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." She helped bring together some 500 evangelicals, Protestants, and Catholics to bless the Jewish people.
To tell them we love them We are with them. We'll do everything to sustain them and to help them, whatever is the situation in France.
Pro-Israel Christians have been holding conferences in Israel for decades. But this conference marked the first time French Christians gathered as a group in Jerusalem to support the Jewish state.
We live in a time that we didn't prepare for, but that God has prepared for us.
Pastor Carlos Payan says France is the least evangelized country in Europe, but he believes coming to Jerusalem will be good for the Christians.
We will experience a healing in the Holy Land in Jerusalem.
A major event happened earlier this year when Islamic fundamentalists carried out terror attacks in France, one in a kosher supermarket, killing 4 Jews. Payan said Jewish-Christian relations improved after that incident.
French Jews know that many Christians, not only evangelicals but also Catholics and Protestants, are standing by their side.
Lafitte says Jews in France are going through a hard time.
The situation is really terrible. We live in a little Jewish quarter, and we see people splitting on Jews and, things like that happening.
Last year, some 7,000 French Jews immigrated to Israel, the most from any nation, and this year more are expected. While the Israel event was planned long before the terror attacks, French-Israeli Tony Sparandeo says it's a wake-up call for the church.
The church is the light. They should not expect the government to do anything. They should stand and believe and trust the Word of God and stand with the principle that they know to love Israel. As the scripture said, I will bless those who bless Israel. I will curse those who curse Israel.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Chris. Here in the U.S., it's easy to access a Bible pretty much anywhere. On our phones, in bookstores, online, the options are endless. But it's a different story in Cuba, where getting your hands on one isn't as easy. But one group is on a mission to change that. Ephraim Graham brings us that story.
More than 80,000 Cubans will feel the joy of owning a Bible, thanks to a generous donation from the International Missions Board.
We know that they'll be very happy to receive them in the churches. We're happy right now as we do this work, happy for what's happening, and we give thanks to God.
The shipment comes at a time of growth for the evangelical church in the island nation. Bibles have not been sold in Cuban bookstores for more than 50 years, so the only place people can get one is at a church, and that's not easy, because churches rely on donations, which have a hard time keeping up with the growing number of believers in the past few years. The Cuban Council of Churches, along with the Baptist Convention in Cuba, are distributing Bibles to believers in more than 1,000 churches all over the island.
It is a privilege God gives us to take Bibles to the churches where there is so much need. We're in the process right now of sending these Bibles as quickly as possible to our churches. The grass withers and the flowers fade, but the word of our God stands forever.
This Bible shipment is a big encouragement for the Cuban church, but it's not enough. With a nation that has a population of a little more than 11 million people and a growing church, Cuban church leaders know they'll need thousands more Bibles very soon. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
The group's goal is to send 1 million Bibles to Cuba. Well, Charisma magazine is celebrating its 40th anniversary, and the magazine's founder and publisher, Steve Strang, is marking the occasion, highlighting his favorite Bible verse, Ephesians 3, verse 20, which says, "Now to him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly beyond all we can ask or imagine, according to the power that works in us." Strang writes that it's been proven again and again during the magazine's 40-year journey. He says God has done exceedingly abundantly more than he could have dreamed as a young newspaper journalist in 1975 who wanted to do something significant for God. He says he had an opportunity to start a small magazine for his church, Calvary Assembly in Orlando, Florida, calling it a door God opened and he walked through, and he gives God the glory. The magazine also picked a list of 40 Christians who radically changed our world, and Pat, I understand that you're on that list.
Well, think of that.
Look at this.
What?
40 people who radically changed the world, and there you are on the top row.
Well,
Amen.
I'm next to some extraordinary people. I'm honored, Billy Graham and Oral Roberts and T.D. Jakes and others. But anyhow, I congratulate the the Strangs and this tremendous magazine. This is the preeminent charismatic magazine in the world, and they're after 40 years. It's just tremendous what they have done.
It's yeah, great magazine, and what an honor to be.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Charisma. You 40. We're about 55 here and counting, but in any event, this is the 40th issue. It's very pretty, and there's some nice stories in here. I don't know how you can get it, but Charisma is available. I'm sure you can log on online to see something about it.